it's kind of, I mean, I know we didn't do much with SIC last year when I was chair, but I think that we are losing SIC, which had a longer term view. And this is like a perfect issue. And I know President Rosick had talked about still having subcommittees, not necessarily that we have to do. So, I mean, maybe, who's your SIC chair? I mean, I wonder if we can have a subcommittee, if there's two others of us who want to work with Mike and try to come up with some proposals to bring back.
That is a fabulous point to make, because it did get brought up when we were initially putting the structure together, and it's always an option. So two things that you mentioned. You can either have committees, like if we wanted to look at consolidation of services next year, just say that was an issue. That's a longer term, as you mentioned, Trustee Mtg. Trustee, it would be perfectly fine to say the Strategic Initiative Committee, who's defined by, it's on file, will meet and discuss that at your convenience. And if anyone else wanted to come, then we would, we would know about the meeting and we can attend. So that would be the call of the chair to then schedule, or it doesn't have to necessarily be right before a meeting. You guys can figure it out as a committee and then bring it back to the full board. I'm perfectly fine with that. When we originally put this together, I always thought there was going to be work groups. And whether we define them as committees but I think what I'm having a hard time on is the structured committees. And so we do have committees right now. They're on file. They're just inactive. So I've been involving the committee chairs. However, if there is issues that we think are bigger than just one meeting at PAL, right? So they might take 4 meetings. That is something, Rebecca and I, when we put an agenda together, we can certainly say, we have enough to say, I think this is going to take more than one PAL meeting, and then ask the chair of the committee if they'd like to convene. I don't know, it's just throwing that out.
That's, if I may.
Sure.
That's kind of what I was envisioning, that the committee structure would kind of absorb the work that needed to get done, so that we'd be ready at a higher, we're more likely to move something forward, because there are things that it's like, you really got to think through all the options, and it's what are the impacts of the change, and it's nice to have time to let that settle, and it's nice to have that small group discussion, and not have the pressure of, we have an hour and a half or whatever. I do also, I also shy away a little bit about thinking of coming up with new initiatives, because we have a lot that we've committed to for next year, but I think the committees are a way of putting that out to, kind of like take a pass and take a couple passes at some of these bigger initiatives that we've expressed interest in, so that we're doing it far enough ahead so that when the decision needs to be made again, we have enough consensus from at least part of the board to instruct the rest, to guide us. And I really do like adjourning by 10 o'clock at night. It makes a huge difference. And 6 to 10, I can do 4 hours twice a month. But let's see if we can, because I don't want to create more work for staff either. The more committee meetings we have, with the more agenda items on each committee, the more there is going back to staff, and that's partly what we're trying to track.
Maybe we should hear, Rebecca, can you give us, you've been part of it, you helped structure it, can you just give us from an administrative point of view what you're thinking?
Well, I really appreciate listening to your discussion, number one. And I do think, to Trustee Warren's point, it's still new. To your point, President Rosick, it's kind of the perfect storm. We got all this newness going on, and we're trying to figure out what the new barometer is for this group, because every small group is different. But it really struck me when one of you brought up the item of the Strategic Initiatives Committee, because and just benchmarking off of what you said, my only concern immediate that's fresh off this discussion is the fact that one of the issues with the standing committees was the committees were going off in a direction, doing research and coming back to the group, where the board really sets the direction as a collective group for where we're going in the year. And then the committees need to adhere to that direction and help fulfill the mission. So we're building up the work of the board versus spreading out. Because it's in that spreading out that the staff is unsure, well, am I just listening, here's just the dynamic we get caught in. Well, then are we focusing on these 3 people's opinions, and then are we gonna get to the board, and then it's gonna go a different direction, and then we've just wasted the last couple months and invested all this time in something that maybe as a group, as a board, we haven't already said, yes, we want it, this is important, and for our board, you know, like many of you have mentioned, there's over 100 different great ideas from this group. And, we gotta narrow that. And they're all important.
Focus on some at a
And
time and
correct,
include them and
correct.
then with the assurance that we move on.
After the last meeting, when you had met, someone had said to me, well, what about this initiative? And I said, it's okay, it's a great initiative. It's just that, there are only so many hours a day. And this, in reasonableness of small groups, you can only do so much at one time. We'll get to those things. You can only do so much at once.
So.
Those are my
I don't know
initial
if
thoughts, sorry.
Thank you so much for that. And again, if we met as a committee of the whole, or if we scheduled things, and it seems like something's gonna take more than one CAL meeting, so snow dumping, right? In a committee structure, it would go to Public Works, right? And you would talk about it, maybe 3 meetings, I remember purchasing policy was 6. So, you can get into the details. So if I don't know who makes those decisions, I'm assuming it's the manager and the president, but a trustee could at any time say, I think I'd really like that to be further discussed in committee. So we need to work as a team, and I just feel like for those things that maybe are gonna be multiple, maybe those are the ones that we hand over to the committee and just say, how would you like to handle this to the chair? So they're already set, they're set agenda items, but yet they're turned over to the chair to say, this would go to Public Works, do you think we need multiple conversations, so you're involving more, so I'm sorry, trustee McKay.
No, I'm sorry, I mean, if I may, I think at that point, it would be, it could work to say, to consult the chair and say, what do you think about this? And to convene one committee meeting to kind of roll around and determine, as a small group. And it's kind of like what we did with the Human Relations Commission when that needed to get started. We knew that there was some work that we needed to do before the first meeting, and so we kind of convened a subcommittee and we got it done. And it didn't, and then we moved on to we didn't need to keep doing it. So I think one of the things that it can be death by committee where something goes into committee and you're talking. So I think what committee of the whole kind of keeps us all honest in that it is a reality check on how much time we have, and so we do tend to be a little bit more focused, I think, which is positive. But there are things in committee that as long as the work is focused, you can get it done and really get it in a much better place for the board to consider it. And that's a really helpful thing.
Well, we also did have things that we killed in committee, for example, like parking things.
Yes.
Like this whole parking thing on Lady Drive, I've seen things that got killed in public
Yes.
safety committee, and then the rest of us didn't even have to deal with it.
Right. So I like that idea about that at the board says, this is important to us, we need a little work on it, can you convene a committee to do that work? But that committee doesn't have the power to kill it. I mean, I do agree, especially because I just really think that we have a lot of new ideas and we're gonna be a change board and I think that we can handle that as long as we really are all on board about and understand what the impact and the implementation is gonna be of all these new ideas. So I really think that that's important that you're building up from the board.
Right, and I do think that, you can tell us your opinion, but that might help staff because you're talking about it as a board, you're referring it based on the board's direction, which we've been doing, really, not referring, but we've been giving direction as a board, which has been helpful, I assume.
Yeah, I think that exactly to your point, I think sometimes there's just that hesitancy, like where, the value of having all of you come at some of our issues from different perspectives is that we get the value of all of you. You're all extremely talented.
Right.
What's hard sometimes is that sometimes I can never put out options that actually make everybody happy.
Oh,
right? For seven.
And that's not a reasonable
No.
expectation for
I
this
know, but
group.
it's nice to be able to have a group to
We're
touch in on. You know, when trustee Amenta had mentioned the example tonight of parking, you know, the conversation that I had with President Rosick is, okay, you know, we don't have standing committees right now. Typically in the past, you know, because I was just asking the questions so new. Okay, well, what have we done with these things in the past? Right? So it would have gone to a public safety group. You know, could we have done something different? I don't know. I mean, and whatever decision you guys make is great. But, you know, sometimes it is nice. It's nice for me and our staff to have a group because we genuinely value the comments and the feedback that you have. We just want to make sure that we're being efficient with it.
And I actually do value that. There's a time problem for me. So that's why I was asking Bd. But my problem that I see and that I'm trying my hardest to figure out how to manage that as a chair is just getting through our agendas. At some point, Trustee Warren told me yesterday, like, we're gonna morph into a board that's gonna know what we each, you know, like it's, right now we're just in change.
It's gonna
But-
happen, okay.
But regardless, as we work through that, I do benefit. I've learned from Trustee McCaig in the last 3 months. I've learned from our new member, Trustee Warren. I do like hearing the initial discussion, and if we feel, and I'm all right, as Trustee Amenta has said, with letting it go. Once we're aware of what's going on and assigning it down if management and the chair think it's an important thing, that's perfectly good with me too. And for larger issues, maybe snow dumping, you know, we hadn't talked about it before, but that might be one that would go. Trustee Menta?
I think individual trustees need to prioritize just like as a board, we need to prioritize. So maybe, you know, parking is the number one thing for you and snow, you know, snow dumping and then, you know, like, I don't think, I'm not personally interested in being involved at this level in every single issue that we discuss on this agenda. You know, I'm more interested in certain issues and less interested in other issues. And I'm perfectly content to let a committee of this board hash it out and come to the board with a decision. So all I'm saying is this idea that we all have to be in here commenting on everything all the time is I think it is time consuming, and I feel it's somewhat a waste of my time because I don't have the same level of interest in every single issue here. And, you know, we need to prioritize, and that's kind of, we need to prioritize and specialize, and that's kind of what committee structure is. Yes, it makes it a little more complicated for Rebecca to count to 4, but I mean, as we have a discussion, I think that Rebecca needs to know us individually and have enough of an understanding of each of us and where we're coming from and what our positions is as a village manager, that it shouldn't be so much guesswork for her as to, is there a board majority for something or not? And maybe that will just come in time as she gets to know us better.
I just want to say that I wouldn't put that on Rebecca. I don't even know how the board's going to vote at this moment. We used to vote 5-2 a lot, and we vote the majority of the time we're not voting together. So I'm just saying, I want to be careful. I'm trying to say, pin it on the manager to know how you would probably vote on an issue. I understand the time commitment. I'm concerned because one of the things that was brought up when we were deciding to change committee structure was the fact that we were repetitive. And so that's why I think maybe the step of putting it down, starting here and putting it down, at least we know 4 people want the issue discussed further. If we do it the opposite way, we're back to where we were, which is I'm not available, you guys go to committee meeting, say, and there's certain things that have to be on our village agenda board that are boring, and we don't want to, but they're going to have to be on the agenda anyways, and then eventually that topic gets to the village agenda, so we talk about it twice. I don't know what the solution is. I wanted to bring that up because just going to committee doesn't avoid having to sit through it at the village board meeting. Attorney Bear and then Trustee Maher.
I just wanted to, just from a legal perspective, just mention that I heard a couple things, something buried in committee. Procedurally, there's no motion you can make in committee at this level of government that will kill something and prevent the board from addressing it. I just wanted to clerically make that point.
The board could pull it up. They could definitely sit on it.
The worst thing that can happen, literally, is a committee would discuss an issue and say, we have no consensus recommendation on the committee, but here's what we talked I just wanted to make that point.
As long as the board assigned it down. If a committee decided to talk about it without us discussing first, they could kill their own, I mean, we wouldn't even,
Well,
we'd have to pull it up.
Normally, the way I've seen it in the past historically is that the item would be discussed in committee to make a report out of committee for the full board. And if you, I mean, if you look at like the Roberts Rules approach to committees or the philosophy behind them, is I'll give you two examples. One would be the parking ordinance that came up tonight. If you've got somebody in the subcommittee that worked with staff on it, they just say, well, this is nothing more than restricting parking in the areas where we went from 2 lanes to 1 lane so that you can get around and then you can actually go through the intersection and everybody goes, oh yeah, okay, vote yes, and it takes 3 seconds and that's it. That's one example. The other example would be the B ordinance. When we had the B ordinance.
thank you all for the purchasing policy. I mean, that's
Which is
awesome.
to say, hey, you know what, we understand, we want to make sausage, but we don't want to get into the minutia of how the sausage is made. Here, we're gonna send it to the subcommittee and figure out how to make it. And then make it. And then they come back and say, we looked at 45 other ordinances from all over the state, and we figured out what the fee is gonna be, and here's our recommendation, and we trust